Bom dia, good morning. This is the Innovation for the Future Crowd Circle. Today we are with Thierry and Barbara. Maybe Rob will join us. He's trying to get in and something is not working with the connection, the internet connection. Let's see. And my proposal is for us to go with a check-in. I can jump and start. I'm noticing mainly sadness. Today it's the day that I change with the mother of the children, and yeah, I'm noticing that sadness inside me. That they are living for a week, and we have been together for the last week, and this last week was very. I felt very liquid. I feel my structures very liquid this past week, and it was very interesting to be with them in that liquid state. Something shifted it here at home, and the relation was more fluid, more, I don't know. And yeah, this was a different week. Rob is here. No, call Rob. Rob. Yes. Okay. We already start the recording and start the check-in. I'm doing the check-in and we go from there. Yeah, that something shifted in my field or is shifting in my field. Today I'm feeling that sadness, that sadness in myself. I'm also has this sense of joy because I'm experimenting new stuff. I have been yesterday in Izeg doing one day for 30, more or less 30 youth people that are in the university with this responsible and regenerative cultures. It was a day with them, and we experiment different stuff, and the feedback was so amazing. It was really interesting to be in the field and to experiment with that people, and had a conversation with them about responsible and regenerative, and playing with that was really amazing. And I'm glad about that. I'm also glad there is something in the background, some noise. Yeah, maybe it's from your side, Rob, because when you close your micro, it stopped. Thank you. And that brings me a lot of joy. I also start a new project with a school, bringing this kind of distinctions and work to the people that work in the school, professors, the directors, and something is changing in the field, and I'm very glad, with fear also, but very glad about that. And this I have a very challenging experience in last Saturday with more or less, let me see, check, about 20 people from the Innovations for the Future that came from several parts of the country. We did a dynamic around this regenerative and responsible cultures, and was really wow. And the final circle was really something for me. It pulled me the rub, and so many insights, so many learnings. Yeah, I'm feeling that in this last 3 weeks, more or less. I'm calling to myself some experience that are really challenging and bring new learnings to myself. And I arrived with that, with all that thing in me, without leaving this process of dissolving my structures, opening myself, see what is there, finding the hedge, my hedge of what I think I know, and I'm breaking all that fantasy walls that I don't know, I really don't know, and that feedback is arriving from several places, and I'm finding the next thing to do, the next thing to learn, the next thing to go and experiment. And yeah, that is scary. I feel the fear in myself, and also feel the joy of putting myself in this experience and going forward. And also I'm glad because I'm planning to have a more quiet weekend with my partner, and that brings me a lot of joy. Yeah, and it's me, Marvin. Thank you. And I pass to Barbara.
Thank you, Marco. Well, how I arrive. The last circle that we talk about the schools that capture my attention, and from there to today, I have this around my head because I'm at home. My kid was sick, and he's here with me. And I also saw the circle of with you, Marco, and Jill, talking about the new school that is emerging in Campo Lide, and yeah, and I can see this shake me in a way. In one side, I feel joy and hopeful to see that new things are borning already. But I also contact with some stories this weekend that I've done workshop with the, how this called, Pequeno Buddha, that brings meditation for children. And I hear some stories about the children that are taking pills because ansiedade, how to say, anxious, I think, yeah. So they are taking pills from almost 0 years to adult. So these stories kept my attention, and yeah, and I feel here in the heart these two sides, the hopeful and the sadness of hearing these stories. And at the same time, I also feel a little bit frustrated because I have so many things in my head, and I need to put it outside. I need to bring outside to the world, but for some reason I have I'm in these walls of a mother, and I really enjoy it, but yeah, and sometimes it's hard not to be more active in the way I would like. Yeah, that's me today. And I pass it to Rob.
Thank you, Barbara.
I'm in on a different machine, and the sound quality is bad. If you can't hear me, or you need me to repeat, please just do something like this. I'm interested in schools and education. Patricia, who's part of the network here, and I made a proposal for a new kind of school that's been happening the last 2 or 3 years, and because they were having conflicts with the children, not with the children, between the teenagers basically, but which they haven't accepted, because they want to try to sort it out internally, although they asked us in the first place. So it's a little bit frustrating, but people, there needs to be a process. But I do feel education for young people is, of course, planting seeds. I'm in a storm. I'm in the eye of a storm, for example. I'm learning to be calm. So there's a lot of conflict around me, and wants to come to me. And in former times, I've either declined or removed myself, or attacked back, or been very defensive. I'm not doing any of those. It is very, very uncomfortable. I'm learning something about staying straight and managing myself in a conflict situation. And what I notice is that when I feel attacked, I put all of my energy into defense, naturally. Nothing weird about that. But of course, when I do that, I don't have any other energy to support others, or so much energy to support others or facilitate. And as a facilitator for quite some years now, I have been in various levels of that and still been able to maintain the role of facilitator, which is great, because for me it's the work to know what is my ego, or where my ego is showing up in whatever way, and to be able to stay out or witnessing and operate from there in difficult situations. But I have to say, it's quite intense what's happening to me at the moment, and around me, let's say. Yeah, why is it to me? What's happening around, and I'm in this practice of trying to manage my energy so that I can remain in the witness position, and therefore responsible. So I'm not being specific, but 2 or 3 areas of what I consider to be groups that are attempting to be in best practice, experiencing conflict and very, very childish behavior. Yeah. So life's not a joy right now. But good to see you, Paul. And thank you. I thought I'd missed the deadline this morning, so because sometimes you left the room, Marco, and I've missed it a couple of times. So I'm very glad to just be with you today. So looking forward to how it unfolds. I don't know, Thierry, have you checked in? Okay, I hand it to you, Thierry.
Okay, then I go.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, for me, I'm just reminding myself also of last week setting, and then I had the idea, okay, on Saturday I go on a road trip. I was standing on the bus station, and 7:30 in the morning, and I found out that they changed the schedule a little bit, so the bus had already left. And to make a long story short, the kind of a worldly trips and reconnections, it's still happening slowly. But then that night I had a healing session with a Dutch lady, and she was looking at these deep masculine and especially feminine patterns, but of course also the masculine, like in the wound with abuse issues and stuff like that. And she connected that actually with the Greek gods and goddesses. And through that, I realized, you know, you have these three gods in the Greek, what they call pantheon. One is Zeus, of the god of the land, and then you have Poseidon, god of the ocean, and you have Hades, the god of the underworld. And basically, these gods, you can see it also as kind of a archetypal energies, like Carl Jung played also with it. And through that, I realized that, you know, I sometimes I just when I talk about myself and my work, I put myself down. But I realized, you know, I've been doing so much work in the underworld, so probably I have more association with Hades, the god of the underworld, and just cleaning up family patterns and also looking at the collective karma. And what I see now happening, that's why I also mention it, is that, you know, basically we're in a very messy period. And if we learn our lessons good collectively, we don't have to repeat a story of wars and abuse and stuff like that. And we can just move through. So I think this is very important. And maybe it could be an issue that could also be looked into in the group with innovations for the future. But what I've experienced over the years, you know, there's some people who are just naturally attracted to that, and some people were more attracted to things happening in the outside world. So everybody has their job. So I feel somehow in myself kind of a rebalancing happening. Somehow I know I'm slowly called to reconnect also with the active projects, and that's what I want to find out also, how to help these projects with these aspects, to see the bigger picture. And when, for instance, like with Rob, if you run into trouble, okay, what in your own system attracts that? Because that's my experience, you know, if you just do your homework, then you don't get the same drama the next time, and that's really helpful. So that's where I am at the moment, and as always, I'm really happy to see you and to be together with like-minded people. So thank you.
Thank you, Thierry. I noticed that in the check-in, the school and education scene pop up, and maybe that could be one of the exploration for today. And I also have alive in me, I'd like to share to the circle and report to the circle the learning and sensing journey that I did to Lausanne and the projects around Lausanne, and to bring to the circle what I learned about that, and to see how that connects with other places and other learnings and other things around the field. That is what is alive in me. What do you feel and think about this? Exploring this more, the learning sensing journey to Lausanne. It's near the central of Portugal, near Serra da Estrela. It's in bioregion I. It's called, I don't know, Maciço Central. I don't know how to say in English. It's where is the mountains, the big mountains in Portugal. And the second is the school and education. What do you feel and think about that? What will works for you to explore one, the other? I don't know if we will have the time for exploring both.
What comes up in me actually is if we just connect that also with our, say, inner child or maybe childhood experiences, because often I see we project what we want to do in the world based on our own things that would maybe we had a great youth at school, or maybe we didn't, but also just to weave that in the story. make it more personal.
I'm listening that you'd like to go to the education and school dimension. Is
Yeah,
that
for me that's
okay?
good, but it's just connected also with ourselves, because like reason why I'm saying it, what I picked up in Holland, and I think there will be something similar happening in Portugal at some stage. There was protests in Holland because they say, you know, a lot of the problems in society, they try to solve it on the school, in the square around the school.
Okay, if it's what is in the field, let's go with the field. For me, it's okay to explore the education in the school. My story around that is I did a 5 days retreat in possibility management. It's a very dense retreat. We start at 7 in the morning and we end at 11 in the night. And I did a 5-day retreat in last August with the only subject was healing from school. And I have the chance to work in myself, healing myself from school in that 5 days. And it was one of the most challenging things that I did in human development work. And it was really, it changed a lot of me. It changed a lot of perspectives inside me. And when I was in João Sem Medo, the education and the school subject really popped up a lot. And some people said, you are in education, you work with education. And I always say, no, that it's not me. I'm not an educator. That is not my role. I work with entrepreneurship and blah, 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 blah. And that is not a thing. And I said no. And I had invitations to write books about that and that kind of stuff. And I always say no. And last November, it came the first invitation to work with youth, in the case in the university. And I said yes. For the first time, I said yes. And I went there and did something. And after that, it came an invitation to work with a secondary school, with children, with youth around 16. And I did a 3-day retreat 2 weeks ago. And it came this invitation to start working with the school, with Villa. And the difference is I'm saying yes. This time I'm saying yes. In João Sem Medo, I said no. I continue to don't know anything about education and pedagogy and all that stuff, but I start saying yes to the invitations that arrive me around that issue of working with schools. And now I'm working with a university. In this case, this university is in using the levels of thought in sustainability. They are in conventional. They are in the 2nd level. This college, this school that invites us to do the retreat and work with the children, they are at the green, at the 4th level, the green thing, green way of thinking in sustainability. And this Villa school, they are at the restorative level. They are at the level 5. I'm using the map of Bill, the guys from Regenerative Development. This map, it's in the Daniel Wall book, the regenerative culture thing. So it's in the beginning. And these guys are in restorative. They are aiming for regenerative, but they are in restorative. And it happens in the last 3 months. And I'm very, it happens after my healing from school process, and the S came from there. And I'm finding the edge of what I know, or I'm starting to figure out what I don't know. With the invitation of this school, I'm doing the training in open learning school, the model of that comes from José Pacheco. It's really amazing. I'm finding a lot of bridges between the work that I'm doing in possibility management and the work that they are doing in schools. for people. And maybe the big challenge that I'm facing, it's that I learn and experiment a lot in this 10 to 15 years with adults and models with adults like Thierry, you, and possibility management or generative development and blah, 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 blah. And nothing of that works with these ages, with this 12, 14, 16, 18, and also in 20. They are eager to receive some of that things, but the way I'm doing is not working. And that's really challenging, is challenging. Like this, what needs to be done for this kind of perspectives could arrive in them. It's like this is designed from adults to adults. And what could be done for this kind of stuff to go to children, and to youth, and to put them? And what I'm seeing that is working, I did just a few experiments yet. I'm most in the beginning, but what I'm seeing it's working, and is when we open the circle and really make the question, like the guys in the open learning school do that. What do you want to learn today? What do you want to do with your time today? And you just open and see what happens. And it's a very challenging thing it's like changing all the perspective, changing all the design of the things. And as soon as they catch what we are doing, they go with. They really take and go with it. I feel that yesterday in ISEG when we did the work with the day with the young people, that they are around 20 years old, and they really, when they something shifted in their field, they grasp the thing and start doing the things by themselves. It's like you need to go out and let them do, because they already are there. But there is a strong resistance in going, in starting, in yeah. Yesterday, it happens also in the retreat. In the retreat I felt the shift in the field around the second day, the end of the second day. It was a 3-day retreat. And yesterday I noticed that after, it was 3 sessions, 2 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, after the second session. And when they came back from lunch, they came back differently. And I'm not sure what happened, but I think they lunched together, and they had these free moments of speaking alone without someone facilitating or holding the space or whatever. And when they arrive with a completely different sense with that they live in the 2 sessions. And that really opened something. The shift was there in the field. And that is my experience for now. I'm saying yes to these invitations to work in education and open myself to that. And the invitations are starting to arrive that puzzle me. And for sure, there is something here to work with. Because a lot of the things that I know or experiment or practice or whatever are designed for adults, are not designed for people with 5, 6, 8, 12, 14, 18. And something needs to be done around this kind of stuff. I know that the Robin Council and the foundation, the Ajay Foundation, has some experience, maybe a lot of experience in using council with youth. If you have some stories or some things about that, I really like to hear. The things that I know, it came from the book, the Way of Council book. I don't experiment or had the experiment of that in real cases in Portugal or in myself with counsel. And I also connect with some experience in nonviolent communication, mainly came from Projeto Oxigênio, Alain and Sophie. They did some experiments in schools with teachers and also with children. And that's me. That's my sense of what is happening in the field right now around education and in myself.
Can I connect with that? After our conversation last week, I had a couple of connections also with children, and I had also contemplating on the whole issue. And what I saw with these children, you know, one older one, it was 11, he had been 3 weeks out of school and sick. He showed up again, and it was a bit at the same time that I felt like the deep kind of painful work was done in the belly. And then later on, I had a connection with a 3-year-old little Dutch boy, and I could feel, you know, with some of the little children that are around here, you know, they see me from a distance or they don't even notice me. I'm kind of a quiet guy. But with this boy, I could give him a bit of apple pie and that I just made. That's always a good one. And I could also see, you know, the little boy had been to different schools, and at some stage he said, you know, I don't want to go to another school again. So he stayed at the same school. And actually, he gave me a couple of tips. I've been exploring baking things, and he showed me basically how at the school they made this little oven just in the wild, because it was a school where you could also learn about survival things and bake bread in it and stuff like that. So what I started to realize through that also, you know, it's really helpful if you can just see this little boy as also at the same level as you are, which is not easy if you're an adult. It also reminded me of the story of Richard Branson. Maybe some of you know that. As a little boy, he was basically just treated as kind of a grown-up. At some stage, you know, his parents, he had just learned swimming, and then his parents threw him in a river. Okay, now you can swim. And all the time he was, they were in the car, they driving home, and outside of the village where they were living, his parents threw him out and say, okay, now the rest of the trip, you can find your way home by yourself, stuff like that. So he was sometimes, in a loving way, he was really pushed, and it's not the normal way that we treat our children with it. And the last thing that what I would like to share is that when I was growing up, at some stage I noticed in myself kind of something popping up, I think, in primary school of, you could say, kind of a guilt pattern. And some years ago, I found out this research that they did the last 20, 30 years around what they call highly sensitive people. And apparently it's quite normal with, like they say, about 20% of the population to have this kind of skills. Because I found out that this guilt pattern was basically kind of an inherited pattern of especially my father. And I think that if you, the kind of children that you get in these workshops that you talk about, the percentage might be higher than 20%. They're kind of the healers and the innovators and the bright kids. That they have really a sensitive skill set, and it's also why you have to treat them in a different way. They're basically like little Merlins and Gandalfs of the world, and Einsteins also. Yeah, so that's what I feel at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Thierry.
It's good to hear these stories. I didn't know this about Richard Burton. Did see a film story years ago, a year ago or so ago, about the way the parents treated the children, put them into fight situations, so they had to fight. It's an interesting, yeah, interesting topic. I don't know if there was something I wanted to say. It's not quite here yet, so I'm just. Yeah, I'll pause.
Well, I have the different perspectives. My kids and myself, they were the first grades, the 4 first grades in how to say, Escola Moderna, Movimento da Escola Moderna. Yes, I believe this have some like open learning school. I'm not sure, but in that experience, I feel, and my kids also feel that really joy. And they, in this kind of schools, they work together. For instance, from the first year to the 4th at the same class, and it's really much like a circle, because they work together, and the work is done by subject, and the groups start working together by the subject. They choose something that they want to learn, and they ask to the partners which someone wants to work with that subject, and they go. And yeah, and the teacher it's much more like a facilitator, and at the same time the teachers, it's like Thierry was saying, is at the same level more or less, but as a facilitator is at some level like them, because she don't have all the answers. She can say to them, okay, let's see what's there. I want to learn too. It's something like this. It's like much more like peers. Yeah, this is the 4 levels. And then I didn't, well, they go to some normal schools, and it's a hard time for them, and for me too. Really hard time. Kids now, they don't have free time at school. When the teacher doesn't come, for instance, they stay at the room, and they do something else. because kids are not alone on the place together, on the recreio, I don't know, the place to play. They can be there, and for free time is not. They have free time very, something like a square. I have this free time, and then I go to another square that this is the room for science. Here is the room for arts. This is the room for something else. And this is a room for play. Yeah. They have a card. They go to the school, so they have the card that we can see everything in this card. What they eat, what they buy, when they go out, something else, like. So it's like in this kind of education, we treat them like babies, really. We don't give them responsibility. This is the main difference that I can see. Yeah, and it's really sad because we all have this knowledge inside of ourselves. We don't need, yeah, and they cut something like this. We were cut it. So for me, in my experience, the way I escaped from school, it was the art classes because they were more free, and my peers, really, especially in this age between 12 and 18 or less, 16, where my learnings were with my peers, with my friends, really. And it was in this no room space, no teacher space. Yeah, and also, of course, yeah, with the family and peers, especially with peers. We go a walk just to, just talk, just to walk around Lisbon, just to sense the city, to see the ocean, to discover things, to get lost, really. Yeah, I discover many things around this walking time. I remember I live really a little bit closer to the school, but and I have the underground to go to directly to my house. But then I want to be with my friends, so I go with her with a longer walk and go there with her in the underground I do a big round to come home, and then I come home. I phone her, still talking to her. Yeah, it was the great moments. Yeah, and even the memories that I have from some teachers, the good memories. It was teachers that bring things like with so many joy, and they also bring themselves to the room. I remember I have one Portuguese teacher. He was a singer of opera. So the beginning of the lessons, and we were learning Camões. So it's a very a difficult learning, I believe, for that age. It's a Portuguese, so difficult. It's a poet, Portuguese poet. And in the beginning, he starts singing, and we were there and playing, also bringing stories and things like this. Maybe the first 10 minutes, it was just this, and we play, we talk together, and then when we stay focused on the study part, we stayed there, just there, listening to him. And I learned a lot about this Lusíadas book. And he made connections with life. Yeah. And this goes around again to the first thing that I was telling, the story of my children. The school, like open learning school, and yeah. Learning is alive. It's not to be in a square, for me, at least. Yeah, I put it in the middle.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. A lot of stories pop up around the sharings that arrived. And, yeah, I'm noticing that we have more 5 minutes, and I will close my sharing as a checkout with the story that some friend told me. And the kids of that friend go in a conversation with the friend said, "Dad, do you know the name of the place that has the holes around, and people for going to bathroom have to ask for permission to take a bath, need to permission to do something, need to do permission to eat, need to say permission." And my friend said, "It's a prison." I was talking about school, father. And that was the story. The children did a joke with the parent using the description of a prison and was talking about school, this school. And I feel sad and angry. Maybe. It also popped up 2 movies. One movie, it's called Accepted. It's a teenage, more or less, movie, but has a very interesting thing about school. And the other movie, it's called Freedom Writers. And both of them are talking about the kind of conversation. Yeah. And thank you. I really feel touched by the conversation and what popped up. Thank you. It's me reading.
I can go next. Listening to the conversations, what I realized that to summarize most of the experiences in my youth around playing with things were basically, you could say, old-fashioned. You know, I literally had these little aeroplanes like the F-16 and stuff like that. You had to put them together like with the plastic pieces with glue, and then I had a rope just hang them on the wall. So they were basically hanging above my bed, like military stuff. We're playing like with little soldiers and cowboys and Indians. And I mean, it was normal. You played with the game boards were Risk, military game, Stratego, and Monopoly, which were basically also really kind of old school. And the only thing I can remember that was kind of really, for me, just weaving a golden line to the future was when on primary school, my teacher, he was a great fan of the Beatles. So I was quite innocent with like pop music at that stage. So he introduced the Beatles, and I won actually like a little tape because I was the best in the quiz. And these Beatles, they are they were students of my first meditation teacher, who already in the 60s foresaw this whole stuff that we're in right now. So to make it short, I think for any one of us, it's very important to ask this question every time, you know, what I'm doing and what I have in my backpack, would it still be working for the world I want to live in, or should I just throw it out or flush it through the toilet? And going back to the children, I think for them it will be the same question. Okay, is it helpful for our journey now or not? Thank you. And I'm grateful for our conversation.
It's almost a mission impossible, Rob and Barbara, to check out in less than 1 minute. Thank you.
Yes, I'm grateful that I could join today. I do witness, though, the sharings are very long, which means that there's not so much time to come back again and again speak. I just will check out with a short story, which comes from a book that I read from David F. Peat called Blackfoot Physics. And he was describing how indigenous, there was a moment in the indigenous classroom. Indigenous children were in a Western style classroom, and the teacher was asking, so the teacher would dictate what was happening in this port and what kind of industry there was and how much activity there was, and they would ask the children, so how much activity was there? And the indigenous children would just look at each other and say amongst themselves, why she already knows the answer. Why is she asking us?
Let's play. That's my checkout. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Até já.
Até já.
Até já. Obrigado.